What's going on, people? How you doing? It's MUGZY, upcoming hip hop artist from Sydney, Australia, coming live from Cronulla of the land down under. And right now I'm going to do this artist interview for Here and There Live, exactly here for me, you guys live, to tell a bit about my story, how I associated myself within the hip hop community and culture, and from the start of my career to where I am now. But hopefully it sparks some insight, inspiration, and just a social message to whoever is watching this, to spark something in your life. So question one, let's get this done and have some fun. So yeah, I'm 28 at the moment, and I started doing hip-hop music around the age of 14. Well, actually knowing about hip-hop music and the culture of it around the early thousands era when I was 14. But before any of this actually happened, look at me, man, like before I associated myself with it and carved my whole way of being as a way of expression through, this culture of hip-hop, this universal culture, before any of it could happen, I was sort of the outsider kid, very shy, very introvert, very alone and by myself. Obviously I had my family, but when it came to sort of getting to know people and friends, I was looked at as an outcast. And maybe because I was shy, or maybe because I didn't open up to people. But around that time I was in that frame of mindset of suffering through anxiety and trying to find myself in deep and dark eternal depression, which it's bad to say, to rewind back into the past, because it really was almost to the rock bottom level of suicidal thoughts. Like obviously my parents and stuff and my family tried to help me through it, but when you're in that frame of mindset as a teenager, through your adolescence years, you don't really see your family as an outlet. You kind of see everyone in the world as an enemy, and you feel like you're all alone. No one knows what you're going through, and it's better if the world just doesn't have me anymore, and maybe I should just switch myself off. And it sounds so horrific and dark to say, but that's what a lot of teenagers, their mindsets when they're going through these adolescence and these depression days. This is the clouded vision that they see throughout their own eyes. So I went through that stage as well, but I'm thankful that I came into the culture of hip hop, or even found it, or even it was a good year for it, because if I didn't, I don't even know if I'll be having this interview with you guys today, or even be alive today, because of just how badly damaged my brain and my thoughts were back then. But I remember coming home from high school, and just I always say that the early thousands era of hip hop was just the pinnacle of its commercial element. Like I remember dudes like Eminem and Shady Records, 50 Cent, G Unit, Jay-Z and Rockefeller, the Diplomats, Chameleon and Paul Wall and the Dirty South. Oh man, Kanye's, because Kanye's a big thing now. Kanye's like early stages. Man, like I could go down a whole list, but I remember coming back from high school, back home, and just watching these guys rip the mic, or just performance-wise, or interviews like on things like, MTV, BET, VH1, 106 and Park. Oh man, like the whole list, and just something about him, to me, I was in awe, like in just mesmerized and amazed by what these so-called hip hop artists could do. Like they could, whatever was going on in their communities, whether it was negativity or society throwing a backlash at them, they just knew how to flip it in a sense of just attitude and raw aggression, compared to just saying it verbally, and it was through rhythm and poetry, like the power of hip hop. And obviously I was very attracted to Eminem's career, because he was the white boy in quote unquote African American black domain of music, but it was just something about his aggression and anger and lyrics that sparked me, of just speaking about my pain on a track, or speaking about my pain through rhythm and poetry, and it was just like the way that they looked, like the way that they presented themselves was just cool at the same time. But it was like you could see them, nothing would bring them down. They could walk into any situation, any neighborhood, any community, or any circumstance, and like I said, they just like whatever you chucked at them, they'll just flip it. They'll flip the script back at you, and then you'll be looking like the fool, you know? And that was the powerful thing about hip-hop, just taking whatever problem you had, turn it into a social message with attitude, but flip the script in your rhyme and poetry and your social message through your music. So at first, I was like, you know, why I'm going through a hard time in my life, why don't I try and drop down rhymes? Why don't I try and give it a shot? So at first, I can't remember my first rhyme that I did, but I remember I was mimicking exactly what M used to write, like that real twisted wordplay and messages through his rhymes. Like, to any hip-hop heads watching this, or any huge Eminem fans that are watching this, if you listen to, they would know what I'm speaking about. If you've seen his or listen to his Slim Shady or Marshall Mathers LP, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was very psychotic, like almost to a point of serial killer kind of vibe. And I'm not speaking on M's behalf, but man, he had some pretty crazy tendencies back in the day. I'll get, you know, like, not the Eminem that he is now, I'm talking about the Eminem, the Slim Shady Eminem. And yeah, I mean, I didn't have a wife or kids, but I used to mimic how he used to write, expressing my anger and pain towards people in my high school, like the, you know, the peers in my year or some. And I remember reading it and, like, you know, reading the back and thinking, this ain't like me. Like, obviously I'm sad, like I'm angry, I want to get out of this deep and dark internal hole, but on a psychotic kind of level, this is not how I should be writing. So it was like, you know, I started to spark my brain with loving hip-hop, just like the artists in my own circle, which was the early thousands, which I labeled. But as I was watching and listening to these programs and viewing these sort of, you know, idealists, I would see previous generations compared to my era, like the 90s, you know, Nas, DMX, Tupac, Biggie, Wu-Tang Clan, oh man, Big L, you know, the raw and gritty kind of era of hip-hop. People say it's the golden era. I kind of say it's the golden era too, because there was so much greatness, lyricism, bars. And then you had the 80s, which was, you know, LL Cool J, Eric B. and Rakim, you know, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, another Caucasian white group. Oh man, MC Serch and Pete Nas, Third Base, which is to any hip-hop cats that don't know this, or just people who quote-unquote say they're hip-hop heads and don't know this, or just hip-hop in general, MC Serch and Pete Nas were the first ever white rappers before Eminem. So you can fact-check me on that, but MC Serch from Third Base was the first white rapper, and he was the one that sparked Nas's whole career. He was the one that found Nas as well. And Nas's Illmatic is one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. So fact-check that. And yeah, so that's a bit of knowledge for you guys. But so we had the 80s, which was trying to break into hip-hop as a commercial element, you know, trying to put it on the map as saying this is an actual genre of music. That's what the 80s was about. And then the 70s, the birth era of where it came from. August 11th, 1973, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue South, Bronx, New York. That's the birthplace of hip-hop. So to anyone who is watching this that lives in New York, or even traveling to New York, or says they're a hip-hop head, or loves hip-hop music and is traveling to New York on a holiday, visit 1520 Sedgwick Avenue South, Bronx. That apartment block and alleyway and, you know, long big strip down that road, that's the birthplace of where it started from day one. And that's the reason why I've always wanted to travel to New York, just to breathe and see that history of where this culture I love so much is sparked from. So yeah, DJ Kool Herc, Grandmaster Caz, African Bambaataa, those are the founding fathers. The three pinnacle guys of who started this all off. So if you don't know that, then start doing your history, start doing your homework, because that's something that you should really, really know. And yeah, I mean, so the 70s was, you know, the boogie down Bronx, the block parties, the graffiti, the breakdance and the b-boying. man, the MCing, the DJing, and obviously the knowledge. The knowledge is five. You know, people say it's four, I say it's five because the knowledge is key. And yeah, man, I mean, like the 70s wasn't really the commercial element of it yet. It was just the birthplace of it. But I'm kind of rambling on a bit into the history and the roots of it and trying to get my thoughts across. But I felt that at a young age, having that sort of knowledge behind me, or even just appreciating these, you know, generations after generations, decades after decades, it made me more of a influential and intellectual MC compared to just someone that's rapping for the sake of it, saying, hey, I'm a rapper, you know, just hear my rhymes, hear my word flow. And it's like, yo, why do you love this culture for? It's like, oh no, it's just because it's cool, compared to like someone like me who really studies and loves the craft, and knowing how it's become so universal, from the boogie down Bronx of New York to LA to, you know, Australia to, you know, Hong Kong, and, you know, over in China to the UK to wherever. Hip hop has become so universal, even to countries that don't even, you know, English isn't their first language, they still know what hip hop is. And how crazy is that? They still know what hip hop is, even though English isn't their first native language, you know? So I felt that having that appreciation, knowledge of the history behind me was more of a benefit guarantee for someone to respect me as an MC, compared to someone just rapping for the sake of it, just to get on this quote-unquote clout that everyone's saying. I don't even know what this clout means, but quote-unquote clout. And hopefully that gives a brief introduction to my, you know, origin story, and a long-ass answer for question one. But question two, you know, I'm going to get into further in depth about it, and hopefully you guys enjoy question two. So over the years, you know, from 14 till now, I've done countless amount of interviews, released 2 albums, working on the 3rd at the moment, radio play worldwide, features, movie roles, oh man, and all little, you know, nitty gritty nits and bits in between. But from day one, I remember it was cool to write rhymes, but if I was only writing in my notebook and not having, you know, actual released product material, I wouldn't be taken serious as an artist. Like, I had this epiphany hit my brain, which was like, it's cool to be a notebook rapper, but you need to have product to have it out there. And this was before Facebook, Instagram, and this was early stages of YouTube, but this was MySpace and MSN days. To anyone that's watching this, they were the best days, man. MSN and MySpace, your top friends, and you could create your own band profile and everything. But yeah, man, so I was like, I didn't know what an album was, like how to create it. I knew I was listening to my favorite artists, you know, creating and carving albums, but me as an underground artist, I knew what demos were, but I didn't know full professional recording equipment and recording in the studio. So I thought, you know, why not just make a demo? Why not just make a 3-track demo? And looking back on the past, it was the most rawest, grittiest, I say, hunk of junk demo out there. You know, but I loved it. I loved everything about it when it first came out, because I was an adolescent teen. I was just growing up, man. And looking, like, I've still got it on my iPod, man, but even if I listen to it now and I'm more mature as an adult, it's even hard to get through all the 3 tracks, man, let alone even one. You know, but back then when I listened to it, I thought, this is going to go platinum, this is going to go, you know, worldwide tours, this is going to sell out, I'm going to be the Australian Eminem. Nothing like that at all. Like, you know, but that's just the mindset when you release something for the first time, you know. But so yeah, I thought it's cool to be a notebook rapper, but you need product. So I remember recording a rough demo and of just 3 tracks, and I thought, okay, let's try and get it out there as much as possible. Let's do the hustle game and the grind game. So, you know, I'd reach out to local radio stations, local gigs, which was, you know, youth center gigs or little small sets, and they were like, yeah, we'll put you on, you know, we'll give you this hour slot a day. Then my next step was, why don't I reach out to the artists that are more developed or in the position I am in now? And I'd be like, you know, hey, I'm MUGZY, I'm trying to come up. Can you take the time to listen to maybe one of my tracks or give it some feedback, yada, yada, yada. And this is the problem I have with the Australian hip-hop culture. One, we have too much ego and too much like set groups, a way of speaking, whether it's, you know, if I've never heard of you before, give us a good reason why we should check you out, or if you're not in our crew or you're not with my homies or something, then why should I give you, you know, the time of day? I've never heard your name before, so there's no point of listening to you. It's just this ego-based driven of not coming together and helping each other or giving the next man, you know, a shining shot or just even a chance to be heard, you know what I'm saying? So I constantly did that. I was like, you know, check me out, da 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 da, and I was just like, no, 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 no. And I remember just being so gutted because, yeah, it's cool to get on these little local gigs and, you know, local stations, but I want a bigger market, I want a bigger avenue and more people to spark their ears to my music, you know, or even spark myself to see what I'm doing. And when you're constantly being told no, it's kind of like, should I... This is the downfall of a lot of artists' career. Either some quit because no one's listening to them, or, you know, the others keep pushing on. And it is hard. Like, when no one's listening to you and there's no opportunity and there's no avenue, it's very hard to get into the mindset of thinking, where do I go next? Where do I go to further this more? Or, you know, who's going to listen to me more if my own country is not willing to take... You know, like, the locals are willing to listen to me, but as a broader spectrum, if Australia, quote-unquote Australia, is not listening to me, then what do I do? You know, I can't fly overseas. And so I was like, should I just quit? Should I just quit? And, like, you know, maybe I wasn't cut out to be a rapper. And then I had this epiphany hit me of, why don't I try, you know, why don't I try in the States or the UK? I've got social media, I got MySpace, I got MSN, and so I tried the same routine with that, which was, hey, you know, MUGZY is my demo, da 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 da, and it was just like a shining light. It was, yeah, we'll get you on this magazine, we'll get you on this radio station. Hey, my boy, you know, starting off too. Let's link up, da 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 da. And I realized that the States was so much more networking than compared to Australia. It wasn't ego driven. It was, we all have a dream to achieve. We all have a dream to achieve, and let's achieve it together. It doesn't matter the states. If, you know, I mean, you could be big, small, medium, and we will still work together, because at the end of the day, we don't want to work a 9 to 5 to fund our dreams. We want to keep this dream alive, you know. So what's ego got to do with it? And so, I mean, over the years, that's when I started to really branch out and update my resume. I call it a resume of all my experience, you know, really calculate and tally up my resume with interviews and features and radio play just over the years, and develop my core brand, my name MUGZY as a brand, to a better spectrum than where I was started from. And now a lot of the artists that reach out to me, Australian artists or even just artists that are coming up, they're like, how do you have so many, you know, interviews or features or radio play? And it's just, and I just say to them, look, because I don't have an ego about me. I don't have the whole, you need this amount of followers, or you need this amount of, you know, views to go, or you need to go viral, or your quality of your product needs to be up to this notch. Nah, like, I mean, if you are willing to take the time to search me up, or even get me on your show, or, you know, you might be just that artist that had a crummy demo like I did, and was like, hey, can you take the time? No one's listening to my work. Can you take the time to check it out? I'm willing to, you know, I'm willing to check it out. I'm willing to give you my feedback and stuff, because at the end of the day, like I said, we all want this dream to happen. We all want this, you know, us to achieve this goal, like, and what we're set out for in life, you know. So, yeah, I mean, so that's the problem I feel that Australian hip-hop needs to wake up to, is not to have this ego and these rules and regulations on their, you know, their social, like their social, I guess, misconduct, or the social, you know, social well-being of even releasing material, because that's why we're not putting Australian hip-hop on the map. We've got too many rules and regulations and, you know, disagreements of what we bring out, you know. So with me, I mean, I feel that whatever artist reaches out to me, or whatever the platform, it doesn't even matter if this radio station reaches out to me, and they've only got 15 likes on Facebook, and they said, hey, we saw your page, we want to interview you. Schedule a date, schedule an appointment, and we'll do the interview. Because if they're willing to get my brand out there and vice versa, I'm happy to do it. And the same with artists. Like, even if they're the trap artists of today or the mumble rap, yes, it's not my cup of tea, but I mean, I'm still willing to not give them, like, it's not my cup of tea, but I'm willing to not push them away straight away, which is that's not my genre of hip hop. Like, I'm not riding with that, get out of here. It's like, look, man, it's not really the avenue that I do, but here's a guy that plays that kind of music on his station, or here's an artist that I know that's doing that sort of genre, push them that way. And they become very humble and respectful over that, because they're like, oh, I thought he was going to be an arsehole because, his era is so different to mine. And it's like, nah, I'm willing to network and build friendships and key to achieve in this industry. Because, I mean, ego, it's good to have a passion and drive, but if that's all you're about, I'm all about me and everyone should, be riding my dick, then that's just your only downfall of your career, because no one wants to, no one want to fuck with you after that, man, because, like, you're just too, like, narcissistic in a way. And that's a lot of the problem, like, to any artist that's coming up in the, the hip-hop game, and it's just like, you have that rough demo, it's like, yeah, I'm the best, I'm going to be the next thing. It's like, you need to jump on my, you need to listen to what I say, like, not really being respectful to whoever paved the way, or even respectful to other artists in need. Man, like, I wouldn't even give you the time of day, because at the end of the day, I love people that respect me and I respect them, compared to just someone that's just, hey, check out my stuff, and I listen to it, it's like, it's trapping. I'm like, hey, man, it's not for me. And they're like, oh, fuck you, MUGZY, this is the new stuff. I'm just like, man, get out of here. So hopefully that explained number 2. And number 3 is, man, what is number 3? Oh, yeah. Okay, so question number 3 is parents' expectation, family, friends' expectation when I started doing hip-hop music. So at first, when I really dove into, it was funny, man, because when I delved into the hip-hop culture, it was like a montage. If you could honestly put a camera in my room and set the montage of me growing up, it was funny, man. Like, yeah, you ever see those videos or those scenes in movies where it'd be like a nice little boy, and then, over the course of his years, you'd probably go to like a hard rock, then emo, and then like a businessman, and then like a family man. Where it does those montage things? That was kind of like me, man. Like, I mean, my room was just so, it was like I died in a car crash. That's how blank and dry my room looked. It was like a nice bed, and there was just like nothing in there. It was just like, yeah, like, let's just be morbid, It's like I died in a car crash. And then when I found to hip hop music, it was just, my room was covered in posters and just Eminem and 50 Cent and, like all these like hip hop artists, and obviously the girls too, and da 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 da. And the way that like I dressed and the way that I walked and talked and everything. And they thought it was a phase at first, they thought, oh, it's cool because it's the now thing, it's in magazines, it's in music videos, it's good that he's got an outlet, and we he's more happier in life now, but he'll grow out of it when he's older. They honestly thought that, it was a phase. And to a lot of people that I know, it used to be a phase because it was the now thing. 8 Mile dropped, Get Rich or Die Trying dropped, Notorious dropped, and all the white boys from the suburbs and stuff, which is like, yo, I want to be a battle rapper and I want to do this because it was the cool thing to do. But man, I mean, when they saw I was becoming an adult and more mature and really dedicating towards this goal and this career, whether it's making albums, going down to the CBD for gigs, doing these late night interviews, or, not coming home the next day because I'd be sleeping on a park bench somewhere just to make that meeting to say, hey, can you take the time to, like, give me an industry standpoint of where I could go with my career. Really investing into my career, because I'm from, Cronulla. I'm from a very small, well, not small, but coastal, like area, and the CBD is where it's at, but it's very expensive and very hard to live in. So when they see me very dedicated compared to anyone else that lives around here, I know rappers that just only busk, or I know rappers that their music video comes out and then they put it on their social media, and then they just let their friends and stuff share it, and they go out and party with their friends and get pissed, and they don't really take the time to really be serious and know that there's more outlets to branch out your name compared to just a music video, if that makes sense. So when my family saw that I was becoming an adult and really seeing he's putting his time and dedication, like even to the point of rock, like mentally straining of the hardness of what this industry can do, and my eyes are really sore. I don't know why my eyes are so sore, but mentally straining of just the late night hours, the grind, and just the lack of sleep, and the amount of cup of coffee I drink. I love coffee to death, and I think it's really bad for my health, but I mean, like, I have really damn strong coffees. I beat George Clooney. He has those espresso shots in the commercial. I have more than an espresso shot. That's how much I need to stay up and keep on grinding for interviews like this, or just whatever in general. But I think at the same time, it's not like a 9-to-5 job where you hand in your resume and they're like, hey, we'll you start on Monday. Like a 9-to-5. They know that the industry, it's a high risk, high solution industry. It's like winning the lottery. It's such a gamble with achieving it. So they love that I'm stepping through all these goals, and at the same time it's hard for them to see the personal strain of wanting to achieve it as a reality. But it's still that fear as a parent, or is it just my brothers or a family, to be like, is he gonna succeed and make a living off it? And I'm fearful of that too. That's my ultimate fear, of not making a living off it. So if I can't predict the future, but I can't predict the future, but I know that all the effort I've put in over the years, I'm happy of where I've come to with it. Of like the amount of interviews, the number of interviews, the number of features and radio stations across the globe. I don't have a manager, I don't have a label or a street team or a press crew behind me. And it amazes people that check out my resume of how much I've done. Like, they're like, dude, you're almost, over 1,000 radio stations, almost 300 interviews, almost, I don't want to boost myself. And they're like, how do you do this with just like one person? You must have a manager, you must have a street team behind you. And it's like, nah, that's because I don't take time to waste. Like, I literally, get up in the morning, make my cup of coffee, get on the laptop, get on my phone, start networking, and no second time to waste. Because if I have that moment where there's a second time to waste, what's it all for? Any time wasted is an opportunity wasted. And I feel that knowing that my family and my brothers who I'm close with see that I'm so associated with hip-hop, especially not just as the music art form, but as a culture art form, and knowing that he's really associated with it and he's given it his all, it's a proud thing for them. One, to get me out of that dark spiral of where I came from, but also putting my all into my passion and achieving where I want to be in life. Because most of them have got the the casual 9-to-5 jobs where it's like work, clock in, clock out. And I suppose seeing someone really go head on to the point of just, sleeping on benches, man, in cold nights just to get to their dream, and then saying like, hey, I'm here. And they're like, where were you last night? And it's like, oh, I was sleeping on Central Station bench just to make that meeting. It kind of makes them laugh, but it also is such a happiness thing, because they're just like, man, it's finally someone in our family to go for what they want in life compared to just running the rat race, So that's my question for question 3. And man, I got so many questions, man. And I've written down too because I couldn't obviously remember them all, but you know, whatever. How has hip hop music changed over time? How do you compare old school rap to new artists of today's styles? How do I compare